All right, so are you ready to jump into speaking English? And you want to do it fast.
Let's do.
Fast. We got this deep dive.
Okay.
It's based on a method that says you can get speaking in just 35 minutes.
What?
35 minutes to unlock communication.
That's a big claim.
Sign me up. Now, I'm not saying you'll be fluent by dinner, but
Yeah.
the idea of building confidence and getting comfortable with the basics that quickly is pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's definitely an attention-grabbing claim. 35 minutes might not make you fluent, but it can be enough to lay down a really strong foundation.
Yeah,
And, importantly, kickstart your motivation.
right.
Language learning is a journey, and this approach seems to tap into the power of small, focused steps.
I like that idea. Small steps, big impact. So let's unpack this 35-minute framework.
Okay.
It starts with a 5-minute focus on preparation and mindset, which includes using affirmations,
Right.
like I can learn English. I'm curious, does repeating phrases like that really make a difference?
Well, what's really fascinating here is that affirmations, they aren't just about feeling good. They can actually rewire your thinking patterns.
Oh, wow.
Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
By repeating positive statements about your ability to learn, you're essentially training your brain to believe it. And this can really help combat self-doubt, which is often a huge barrier to language learning.
So it's like planting a seed of confidence in your mind.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
Mhm.
The source also mentions relaxation as part of the preparation. Seems like common sense, but how does that tie into learning a new language?
Well, we connect this to the bigger picture. It's about reducing anxiety and creating a really receptive learning environment.
Yeah.
When you're stressed, your brain goes into that fight or flight mode, making it harder to focus and absorb new information.
Right.
Relaxation techniques, even something as simple as taking a few deep breaths, can help shift your brain into a calmer, more focused state, ready to learn.
Makes sense. So relaxed, confident, and ready to go.
Yeah.
The framework then suggests setting a small, achievable goal for your 35-minute session. Do you think that's really necessary? I mean, isn't the goal already to start speaking English?
Well, having a specific, measurable goal, like let's say being able to introduce yourself by the end of the session,
Yeah.
that does something really interesting. It not only provides direction, but also sets you up for a sense of accomplishment. And those small wins, even within a short time frame, are incredibly powerful for building momentum and keeping you motivated.
Okay, so mindset is key.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to building vocabulary, which this framework dedicates a good 10 minutes to.
Yes. And they take a very practical approach. It's not about memorizing a dictionary.
Right.
It's about equipping you with those high-frequency words that you'll actually use in everyday conversations. This makes the task less daunting and sets you up for success from the very beginning.
The source outlines a 3-step vocabulary building process.
Okay.
First, you identify categories, like greetings, personal information, and daily activities. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
It is, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
These are the building blocks of, basic conversation.
Right.
By mastering these categories, you'll be able to have simple but meaningful interactions in English from the get-go.
The next step is flashcards, which might seem a bit old school, but
Yeah.
I guess they're a classic for a reason.
Flashcards are effective because they tap into the way our brains work. The repetition involved, that strengthens neural pathways, making it easier to recall the information. They also engage both visual and auditory learning styles, making them versatile and adaptable.
And then comes the fun part, creating associations. This step suggests linking words to images or actions to improve memory.
The effectiveness of this technique lies in its ability to make learning more, vivid and engaging. Our brains are wired to remember things that are emotionally charged or linked to a sensory experience.
Right.
So instead of just trying to, rote memorize the word eat, you might picture yourself enjoying your favorite meal.
Right.
Engaging multiple senses in the process.
That's a great way to make those words stick.
Yeah.
The framework emphasizes that even learning a small number of high-frequency words can unlock a surprising amount of communication.
Absolutely. The Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, applies here. A small percentage of the words we use make up the vast majority of our conversations. By focusing on these high-frequency words, you're maximizing your learning effort.
So we've prepped our minds, stocked up on some key vocabulary.
Right.
What's next in this 35-minute sprint to speaking English?
Now it's time to dive into the backbone of language, sentence structure.
Okay.
This framework dedicates the next 5 minutes to learning 3 core structures.
Okay, lay it on me. What are these foundational sentence structures?
The first is subject plus verb plus object. Think of simple sentences like, I eat food, or she reads a book.
Ah, the building blocks. I can see how those simple structures can be used to express a lot of ideas. What's next?
Next, we have questions, which are essential for any conversation. Think of phrases like, what is your name? Or, where are you from?
Those are definitely essential. What's the third
The
structure?
final one is negatives,
Oh, okay.
which allow you to express things like, I don't understand, or he doesn't speak English.
Makes sense. These three structures, even in their simplest forms, seem like they could open up a lot of possibilities for communication.
That's the key takeaway here. You don't need to be a grammar expert to start speaking.
Right.
By mastering these core structures, you're laying a foundation for more complex communication down the line.
So we've got our vocabulary, our sentence structures, and our confident mindset. What does this 35-minute framework suggest for actually getting us speaking?
That's where the next 10 minutes come in. It's all about putting those words and structures into action with some practical speaking practice. But we'll dive into that after a short break.
Welcome back. We've laid the groundwork, mindset, vocabulary, those basic sentence structures. Now it's time to tackle the exciting and sometimes daunting part, actually speaking English.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into this speaking practice section. The framework allocates a good chunk of time to it, 10 minutes. What kind of activities does it suggest?
It starts with something surprisingly simple yet incredibly powerful, self-introductions.
Okay.
Imagine standing in front of a mirror and confidently saying, "Hi, my name is your name. I'm from your country."
That does seem simple. Almost too simple. Why is that so important?
It's about getting comfortable with the sound of your own voice speaking English.
Right.
It's about taking that first step.
Yeah. Breaking through that initial hesitation and building the confidence to speak aloud.
So it's like a warm-up exercise for your vocal cords and your courage.
Exactly.
What comes after those initial self-introductions?
The next step is role-playing. Imagine you're meeting someone new and need to introduce yourself, ask some basic questions, and engage in a, simple conversation.
Let's try it out.
Okay.
Okay. Imagine I'm at a coffee shop
Right.
and you walk up to me. What happens next?
Hello. I might say, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Are
Yeah.
you enjoying your coffee?
Yes, it's delicious, thanks. By the way, I'm your name. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. I'm Expert Speaker's name. So what brings you to this coffee shop today?
See, even with just a few basic phrases and sentence structures, we're already having a conversation. I can see how role-playing can really help build fluency and confidence.
Exactly. And the source encourages getting creative with different scenarios, like ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, making small talk at a party.
Right.
And it's about practicing those everyday interactions and getting comfortable using English in those real-life situations.
And we can't forget about technology.
Oh, yeah.
The framework suggests using voice assistants and language learning apps for speaking practice.
Technology plays a huge role in language learning these days. Imagine, having a conversation with a voice assistant in English,
Yeah.
getting real-time feedback on your pronunciation.
Right.
Or imagine connecting with native speakers through language learning apps, practicing your speaking skills in a, supportive and interactive environment.
It's amazing how technology can open up so many possibilities for language learning. Speaking of possibilities, let's kind of shift gears here and address some of the challenges
Okay.
that people might face when learning English.
Yeah.
After all, no journey is without its bumps in the road, right?
Absolutely. And English, with its unique quirks and complexities, can definitely present some hurdles along the way. But the good news is that these challenges are absolutely surmountable.
Okay, let's break it down. What are some of the most common challenges English learners encounter, and how can they, overcome them?
One of the biggest stumbling blocks for many learners is pronunciation. English has a wide array of sounds, some of which might not even exist in your native language.
Right.
And to add to the complexity, the way words are spelled doesn't always match how they're pronounced.
I've definitely heard English learners express frustration with the whole, read versus read conundrum.
Yeah.
Or the fact that tough, though, and through all sound completely different despite having, the same ending.
Exactly. It can feel like a minefield of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
But remember, the key to mastering pronunciation is practice. Listen attentively to native speakers. Pay attention to the way they move their mouths and try to mimic those sounds. Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and even record yourself to track your progress.
And don't get too hung up on achieving a perfect, quote-unquote, native accent.
Right.
Clear, confident communication. That's the goal.
Absolutely. And remember, even native English speakers have different accents and dialects. So embrace your own unique voice and focus on being understood.
All right, so pronunciation is one challenge. What else might learners struggle with?
Grammar is another common hurdle. English grammar, with its seemingly endless rules and exceptions, can be a real head-scratcher.
Oh, yeah. I remember feeling overwhelmed when I first started learning about all the different tenses, conditional clauses, and irregular verbs.
It's a lot to take in. But here's the good news. You don't need to become a grammar expert to start speaking English confidently. Focus on those core sentence structures we discussed earlier. Subject plus verb plus object questions and negations. Those will get you a long way.
So it's about building a solid foundation and gradually adding more complex grammatical structures as you progress.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
Mistakes are part of the learning process. They provide valuable feedback and help you refine your understanding of grammar over time.
Speaking of building, let's talk about vocabulary. English has a vast vocabulary.
It does.
Which can feel incredibly daunting for learners.
Yeah.
Where do you even begin?
It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
But remember the power of focusing on those high-frequency words. Those are the words that you'll encounter and use most often in everyday conversations.
So instead of trying to memorize the entire dictionary, focus on the words that will have the biggest impact on your ability to communicate.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some practical tips for building vocabulary effectively?
Well, don't just passively read or listen to English. Actively engage with the language.
Okay.
Make flashcards.
Yeah.
Create word lists. Use those memory association techniques that we discussed.
Yeah.
And most importantly, use those new words. Write sentences. Tell stories. Have conversations. Even talk to yourself in English. The more you use the words, the more deeply they'll become ingrained in your memory.
It's all about turning those words into active tools for communication.
Yes.
Not just, passive items on a list.
Exactly. And speaking of active communication, let's address another challenge that many learners face. Fluency.
Fluency. That elusive goal.
Yes.
It can be frustrating to feel like you're stumbling over words or struggling to find the right phrases or speaking at a snail's pace. What advice do you have for learners who are striving for fluency?
First and foremost, be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Fluency takes time and consistent practice. It's a gradual process of building confidence, expanding your vocabulary, and becoming more comfortable with the rhythms and patterns of spoken English.
So it's not about speaking perfectly or at lightning speed right out of the gate?
Not at all. Fluency is about being able to express your ideas clearly and effectively, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. Don't be afraid to pause, think, or even ask for clarification if needed. It's all part of the natural flow of conversation.
And remember those speaking practice techniques we discussed earlier? Self-introductions, role-playing, using language learning apps, talking to native speakers. The more you practice speaking, the more fluent and confident you'll become.
Absolutely. It's all about putting yourself out there, embracing those opportunities to speak, and gradually building up your comfort level.
Right.
And speaking of comfort levels, let's address another important factor that can impact your language learning journey: motivation.
Yes, motivation. It can be a fickle friend, waxing and waning like the moon. How can learners stay motivated when the going gets tough, especially when they're trying to learn a language as quickly as possible?
Motivation is key. Connect with your why. Why are you learning English? Is to travel the world, advance in your career, connect with loved ones, keep those goals front and center.
Right.
And let them fuel your learning journey.
So it's about having a clear vision of the rewards that await on the other side of that language barrier. And remember, progress, not perfection, is the key. Celebrate those small wins along the way.
Absolutely. Those small victories, mastering a new grammar rule, having your first conversation in English, understanding a movie without subtitles.
Yeah.
Those are the stepping stones to fluency and confidence.
And remember, the journey itself can be incredibly rewarding.
It can.
Learning a new language opens up a whole new world of experiences, perspectives, and connections.
Speaking of those rewards, that's what we'll dive into next. Stay tuned as we explore how learning English can unlock a world of possibilities for you.
Welcome back. We've talked about the framework, the challenges, and now it's time to explore the exciting part, the rewards. What awaits you, what doors can speaking English open?
Yeah. Learning English is like getting a key to a whole new world. It can unlock amazing opportunities for travel, career advancement, education, personal growth. I mean, imagine confidently navigating a foreign city, having those deep conversations with people from different cultures, or even just accessing a wealth of information and entertainment.
Yeah.
That was previously out of reach.
It's like gaining a superpower.
It is.
But let's get specific. What are some, tangible ways learning English can impact someone's life?
For starters, it can open up a world of travel opportunities. Imagine exploring a new country, not as like a passive tourist,
Right.
but as someone who can confidently interact with locals,
Yeah.
navigate public transportation, and really immerse themselves in the culture.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
It transforms travel from just sightseeing to, genuine cultural exchange.
Exactly. And speaking of exchange,
Yeah.
let's talk about career opportunities.
Right.
In today's, globalized world, English proficiency is often a prerequisite for many jobs, especially in fields like business, technology, tourism.
So learning English could be like a game changer for someone's career prospects.
Absolutely. It can give you a competitive edge, open doors to those international collaborations, and even lead to higher earning potential.
Beyond the professional realm, I imagine learning English can have a significant impact on just personal growth and development.
It absolutely does. Learning a new language, it challenges you to step outside your comfort zone, expand your cognitive abilities, and just broaden your perspective on the world. It's a journey of self-discovery fueled by the power of communication.
So it's not just about acquiring a new skill, it's about expanding your horizons and becoming a more well-rounded individual.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the social connections that learning English can foster. It allows you to connect with people from all over the world,
Yeah.
build friendships, share experiences, and broaden your understanding of, different cultures.
It's amazing to think how learning a language can break down barriers and just create these bridges between people.
It is.
Now, I know our listeners are eager to start reaping these rewards, so let's shift gears and talk about some practical tips for making the most of their English learning journey.
Of course, we've already touched on some great strategies throughout this deep dive.
Yeah.
But let's recap and maybe add a few more gems to your toolkit.
Okay, first up, immersion. You've talked about the power surrounding yourself with the language, but how can listeners really make this a part of their, daily lives?
Think beyond the textbook. Incorporate English into your everyday activities.
Right.
Listen to English music and podcasts. Watch movies and TV shows with subtitles. Read books and articles that interest you. Even something as simple as changing the language settings on your phone or computer can make a difference.
So it's about finding opportunities to weave English into, the fabric of your daily routine.
Exactly.
What about those times when you're actively studying? What are some, effective learning techniques?
Variety is key. Don't limit yourself to just one method.
Okay.
Explore different language learning apps, try online courses, join conversation groups, find a language partner. And remember those powerful memory association techniques we discussed earlier. Put those to good use.
And don't forget about the classic tools, flashcards, dictionaries, grammar guides. They might seem old school, but they can still be incredibly effective.
Absolutely. And speaking of effectiveness, let's talk about goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's crucial to set realistic and achievable goals.
That's a great point. Don't try to do too much too soon.
Right.
Break down your learning journey into smaller, manageable steps and celebrate those wins along the way.
Exactly. Consistency is key. Even dedicating just 15, 20 minutes each day to practicing can make a huge difference over time. And remember, learning a language is a journey, not a race.
Right.
Be patient with yourself, embrace the challenges, and most importantly, have fun.
I love that reminder. Learning should be enjoyable. I mean, if you're not having fun, you're less likely to stick with it. So find ways to make it engaging. Watch funny English language videos, listen to catchy songs, read books that spark your imagination, make it your own.
And as you progress on your journey, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Seek out opportunities to speak with native speakers. Yeah. Even if it's just a brief exchange at, the grocery store or a coffee shop.
Right.
Every interaction, every conversation, it helps build your confidence and fluency.
And remember, mistakes, they're not failures, they're learning opportunities. Embrace them.
Yeah.
Every mistake is a chance to learn and grow.
So to our listener who is ready to, embark on this exciting adventure, what's one piece of advice you would leave them with?
Start today, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Take that first step.
Yeah.
Open a language learning app, listen to an English song, read a short article. The momentum you build from that initial action, that'll propel you forward on your journey to fluency.
And remember, we're cheering you on every step of the way.
Yes.
The world is waiting to hear your voice in English.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of rapid English language learning. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration and feel empowered to take those first steps towards fluency. Remember, the power to unlock a world of possibilities, that's in your hands.
It is.
Go out there and make it happen.